Hey, what's going on, y'all? I know it's been a minute since I done made a video. Um, I got a lot of stuff going on. Started a new job or whatever. On top of that, school. This is my final year of school, so glad to have that out the way in a little bit. But just been hella busy, which is good. It's all positive. Um, 2013, man. There's a couple of things with 2013 I want to discuss. Let me go ahead and get the elephant out the room. I don't want to hear nothing about Manny and Floyd or Floyd and Manny. I don't want to hear nothing about A-Room until I see something signed. I've been saying it for the longest. I don't ever think this fight is going to happen. And I still, to this very day, keep that same train of thought. That fight is never going to happen, bro. It's never, ever, ever going to happen. Until I see something signed. I'm gonna just leave it like this. Until I see something signed, I don't want to hear nothing about that fight ever again. So if y'all keep on with that pipe dream that it's gonna happen in 2014, go ahead. Picture. I don't I don't hold nothing against you for that. I personally just don't want to hear it because I don't ever think it's gonna happen. That being said, let's talk about the important stuff that happened in 2013. First of all, we seen boxing on CBS for the first time in a long time, man. A lot of people looked over that. I didn't look over that, and it's one of the guys that I didn't have my eye on for a minute, man. Leo Santa Cruz. He's made some comments that I was like kind of sketchy about off top concerning Guillermo Rigondeaux, and we're gonna talk about Rigondeaux too. But he basically said like, "Yo, I'm not fighting Guillermo," and I mean, to me, you don't do that. You don't. You, I'm glad he ain't beating around the bush with it, but he said, "Yo, my father basically told me I'm not ready for Guillermo," which is good. And I know a lot of people are like, "What? No, no, no. If you got a fighter and you know a fighter is not ready for a certain situation, man, don't throw them into the fire, man. Don't do it. You know what that gets you? That gets you Adrian Broner. That gets you, and we gonna talk about Adrian Broner a little bit. But back to the subject, man. I'm glad we seen boxing on CBS, man. That's big. Nobody was talking about that. Even though there was that one fight, you had an up and comer like Santa Cruz on CBS. That was big. That's broadcast television, man. Do y'all know how long it's been since we didn't seen boxing on broadcast television? Showtime did their thing. Showtime ruled boxing this year. All right, Showtime ruled boxing this year. That's big in itself. For so many years, if you wanted to watch the best fighters and the biggest fighters, you was watching HBO, man. HBO ruled pay-per-views when it came to boxing. They ruled stuff. Floyd Mayweather's acquisition for Showtime was one of the most monumental, huge things for sports in a long time. I mean, it didn't go under the radar to like your boxing fans, casual fans maybe, but the sports public in general, I don't think they knew how much of an impact him going over to Showtime would have. And it really did. If you look at the numbers Showtime has been putting up this year, not only the acquisition of Floyd Mayweather, but the acquisition of Golden Boy, the whole Golden Boy stable. Golden Boy stable is deep, man. They are deep. And they right now they got the hottest division in boxing, which is the welterweight division. They got that on lock. They've got it on lock. They're suffering in the middleweight division, but really so is Top Rank. The middleweight divisions, the super middleweight divisions, the light heavyweight divisions, all those are kind of scattered out. But what's helping Golden Boy is like in the light heavyweight division right now. They got a Bernard Hopkins, they got a Beirut Shumanov, who I've liked watching Beirut fight for a minute now. But obviously they're gonna fight. I think around the March time frame, which is gonna be a pretty interesting fight, man. I would favor Hopkins in that fight, but it's gonna be a pretty interesting fight. But 2013 was an excellent year for Showtime, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. HBO, they had the ability to, pump out, get Triple G out there, which another fight that I'm surprised people are like, all right, this fight still ain't happened yet, is that Triple G Martinez fight. I mean, Sergio is gonna fight Cotto. It's pretty much certain now. Everything's just about mailed in on that fight. But I want to see Triple G and Sergio. I think Sergio should. This is the thing that got me about Sergio the whole year. This is the thing that's gonna get me about Sergio when he fights Cotto. And to be honest with you, if Sergio comes in that fight, 95% I favor Sergio in that fight over Cotto. It's just a payday thing. The thing about Sergio's the last big name he really defeated, if you ask me, I mean Chavez Jr. I mean Chavez Jr. was getting fed cats. You know, he was just really getting fed cats. And Chavez Jr. is really like a light heavyweight. He wasn't a middleweight. He was just a bum. Chavez Jr. is a bum. He's lazy. He's a bum. But the last true name that Martinez fought that really was like, okay, here we go, to me was Paul Williams, man. And how long ago was that? He ain't fought Quillen. He ain't fought Pearl. He ain't fought Triple G. You know, I mean, granted, he fought like Matthew Macklin and Martin Murray, but, you know, Darren Barker. And you can say what you want about Darren Barker, but winning the title, but he just lost that exact same title. Felix Sturm was ruling the middleweight division, if you ask me for a minute. As far as like what he was doing in Germany, like he was ruling the European scene in the middleweight division for a long time. This same cat that gave Oscar a run for his money, but you never seen him fighting Sergio. I mean, there's so many names that Sergio could have fought in the middleweight division that would have just been like cool with me. You know, all right, I accept that fight. I mean, I understand Cotto wanting to fight for legacy and stuff like that, but Sergio, man, I'm kind of disappointed in a lot of stuff that he ain't been doing in his division. He hasn't done it this year. He didn't do it last year. Kind of disappointed in that. But yeah, we've already discussed like Showtime pretty much doing their thing in boxing this year, man. And I expect much more out of them next year. I expect bigger fights out of Showtime next year. I expect HBO to, you know, do their thing. Right now they're setting up maybe a Kovalov and Stevenson fight, which that's to me, besides maybe a Triple G Andre Ward fight, that's fight number 1B that you got to put on HBO next year, sometime next year. I doubt you can get away with it on pay per view, but they might think about something like that. I mean, Andre Ward, he's starving to get on pay per view. He's starving for those big fights and stuff like that. It's just right now that Andre Ward needs to realize when you won the Super Six tournament, you basically beat everybody that you can beat in your division. I mean, that's the benefit of a tournament for the simple fact of the matter. You've shown that you're the best in your division, but that's the downfall of that tournament. You've pretty much beaten everybody in your division that people view as a competition. I mean, don't get me wrong. If George Groves would have beat Carl Froch, we might have another thing going on right here. We might have another conversation. But even though it was controversial, an L is an L. And George Groves got that L. A lot of people don't think he beat James DeGale. I gave it to Groves. But maybe he can fight DeGale sometime next year. I mean, Edwin Rodriguez, to me, was one of those last names few people actually know of that could have gave him, like, you know, a little bit of credo or whatever. But right now, like, you stuck between a rock and a hard place. You can either go up to 175 away from somebody from 160 to go up, or maybe have somebody drop down on 168. Maybe Stevenson. I mean, you got to think, before Stevenson beat Dawson, he was campaigning at 168. So it might be something he may be interested in. Have they tested those waters? I don't know. I doubt it, but it's something that he probably should address. I mean, right now, I mean, HBO, they have some fights that I think they're broadcasting Pascal and the Butte too, which we try to be good for Canada. I mean, it's going to be an interesting fight, but it's mainly a Canadian fight. I'm not really concerned with that. Um, yeah, what else we got here? 2013, Guillermo Rigondeaux. That name alone, that name alone said a lot. Guillermo Rigondeaux.